Hi, my name is Lucille Stott, and I'm a former editor of Appalachia, and I've remained as a contributing editor. And the short essay I'm going to read today is from the last edition, the latest edition of Appalachia, the winter edition. And it was part of a tribute to the poet Mary Oliver, who was a contributor to Appalachia for 2 decades before her death in January 2019. It was interesting because I wrote this piece in the summer, last summer, well before the pandemic hit. But when I reread it recently, I realized how timeless Mary's words are and their particular relevance for those of us today. The title of the essay is called Warming the Winter Hours, and the quotations come from her book entitled Winter Hours, which she published in 1999. A bookmark has, for years, kept the page ready for my returning. Lately, I've returned more frequently than usual. In her collection of essays and prose poems, Winter Hours, published in 1999, Mary Oliver saves the title essay for last. Although universal in its themes of suffering and resilience, it feels today as if it had been written just for us, just for now, and it never fails to awaken fresh resolve. The essay is startling in that it casts hope, not as Emily Dickinson's Thing with Feathers, but rather as a feet-on-the-ground warrior, fierce and rebellious. In the winter I'm writing about, writes Mary, there was much darkness. Darkness of name, darkness of event, darkness of the light of reason. I would speak here of the darkness of the world and the light of, but I don't know what to call it. Maybe hope, maybe faith. But not a shaped faith, only say a gesture or a continuum of gestures, but probably it's closer to hope, that is, more active and far messier than faith must be. Faith, as I imagine it, is tensile and cool and has no need of words. Hope, I know, is a fighter and a screamer. I still recall my surprise and my aha smile when I read that last sentence. Hope, I know, is a fighter and a screamer. By the time she wrote it, Mary had become a frequent contributor to Appalachia. Over the years that I edited the journal, from 2000 to 2006, I knew her to be kind, generous, and humble. We would laugh at her sometimes whimsical use of commas, and I understood that I must remind the printer every time that her line breaks were to be unfailingly honored, even if that meant adjusting the typeface or the leading. She was gentle in her manner, unyielding in her art. Shy with people, daring with words. Knowing those things allowed me to see her unusual characterization of hope as perfectly suited to her worldview. And as I'd realized so often on reading her poetry and prose, I knew she had gotten it right. Mary understood, perhaps too well, that in disruptive and disheartening times, the temptation is to withdraw, to leave the fray and retreat into our work, our routines, ourselves. When I read this essay for the first time, I was all too ready to do that. But her words jolted me out of that dark place and kept me from sinking passively into some doughy mess of faux comfort. She writes, sometimes I think if I were just a little tougher made, I would go altogether to the woods, to my work entirely, and solitude. A few friends, books, my dogs, all things peaceful, ready for meditation and industry, if for no other reason than to escape the heart-jamming damages and discouragements of the world's mean spirits. But no use. Even the most solitudinous of us is communal by habit, and indeed by commitment to the bravest of our dreams, which is to make a moral world. The whirlwind of human behavior is not to be set aside. Although Mary claims that retreating into solitude would be the tougher thing to do when cruel forces threaten, her choice to commit, to confront, to participate demands much more of us. She doesn't deny the pain we endure, the grief, the despair, but she urges us to view, and I quote, to view struggle and rising as the real work of our lives. As I read and reread her words, I continue to find strength in Mary's insight. a warrior poet in her way, she found her weapons in love and nature. If we're brave enough to sustain hope ourselves, we're smart enough to understand that hope isn't light and airy. It's the armor we put on to face the day's battles, our own and the world's. Although she is gone, Mary's words will forever keep reminding us that our only real choice is to fight on. Thank you.